Halliburton, who'll be making comments in a few moments. The question of how to keep Portland State University safe has challenged us for several years. In recent weeks, both the members of the Board of Trustees and I have been listening to voices from our campus community about public safety. We've heard many voices, and those include those voices at the June Board of Trustees meeting, the Disarm PSU protest, and the Jason Washington Memorial. We have received and read hundreds of email messages and talked to faculty, staff, and students on campus. Today, we are making two important announcements regarding public safety at Portland State. First, I am joining with the PSU Board of Trustees to create the Reimagined Campus Safety Committee to rethink our approach to safety. The committee will assess how to keep our campus safe without officers carrying weapons. The Reimagined Campus Safety Committee will be asked to provide innovative solutions to our safety and security needs. These needs have been changing in recent years. The Board of Trustees and I anticipate that this reimagination will include creating effective responses to concerns about safety, including building access, as well as assisting community members in crisis. The committee's work will be guided by our commitment to providing an environment at Portland State that addresses systemic racism, recognizes the diversity of our community, and honors our dedication to human dignity. As we move forward with this work, I am very grateful to the Board of Trustees for its support and collaboration. I am pleased that we have 4 people representing our faculty, administration, students, and staff willing to provide overall leadership to the Reimagined Campus Safety Committee as a steering team. These people are Jose Cole, Dean of our School of Social Work, Ed Washington, Director of Community Outreach Engagement in our Office of Global Diversity and Inclusion, Vicki Reitnauer, faculty member in our Women, Gender, and Sexuality program and incoming Chair of Faculty Senate, and Motutatum Sipula Lee, President of our Associate Students at Portland State University. This steering team will work with campus leadership, governance groups, and others to select community members who reflect the racial, ethnic, and ideological diversity of our institution. All perspectives will be welcome. The full committee will draw upon the intellect and ingenuity of our campus and our community to develop actionable and innovative strategies for safety. The Board of Trustees and I hope to see recommendations from the committee by the close of the fall term. The campus will provide resources to support the committee's work. For our second announcement, I'm very pleased to introduce Chief Willie Halliburton. Chief Halliburton has served our city for more than 3 decades in law enforcement, including 5 years in our own campus public safety office. We are grateful for his leadership. He leads our CPSO team of dedicated and hardworking members of our campus family, committed to safety for all. Good afternoon, Chief.
Thank you, President. Thank you so much. Thank you, President, for your willingness to reimagine public safety here at Portland State University. When I took this job, I promised that I would listen. I want to do the right thing so that CPSO officers are doing the right thing. And the right thing is to patrol our campus unarmed. Unarmed patrol will start this fall. We will still protect the campus. We will still provide police services. We will still have police officers, but we will do so unarmed. Understand and recognize that some of the communities that have been treated fairly are not equitable. This is uncharted territory, but it's the right thing to do. It's the right time to do at PSU. We want to make it right and create a safe path at PSU. Again, this is uncharted territory. What we're going to do at PSU might not work in other jurisdictions, but we were willing to make it, willing to try it. Our officers will accept the challenge and so have their families. We'll partner with PPV for calls that typically require armed officers. We'll carry less than lethal tasers and reach out to our organizations and departments, such as the School of Social Work, for ideas on the houseless communities and people with mental health challenges. We ask for patience. We ask for your assistance. We ask that you trust us as we begin this very new path of police work. I'm proud to be a part of PSU. Thank you, President Percy.
Thank you, Chief Halliburton. I offer my deep appreciation to the Chief and each and every member of the CPSO team for their groundbreaking decision and commitment. I support them, and I want to learn from them about their experiences in keeping our campus safe. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much to both of you. We would love to take some questions. Like I said, if you could let me know in chat if you have a question so we can just kind of keep things organized. Not seeing any questions.
There's one here from.
Oh, yep, from Blair. Do you want to go ahead?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So back in, I think it was October of last year, PSU announced a new campus safety plan that didn't include disarming police. So I guess I'm wondering what's changed in less than a year that now you feel like this is the right path for PSU to take?
Thank you for that question. You're correct. That last October, we came out with a plan called Safer Together, a plan that was trying to expand the number of types of people involved in campus public safety. We expanded the number of unarmed officers, and we created a new thing called our student ambassador team that went out to help with the surveillance in our community. But over the last few weeks and months, we've heard many different discussions about protests. We've heard about police violence in other communities. We've heard about challenges in our own communities, and a call for policing to be new and different and innovative. And so we decided, the board and I, after listening to many voices and following the protests and our growing commitment to anti-racism and to creating greater equity on our campus, we decided it was appropriate to move up the time frame for review for what originally was going to be 3 years to this year, so that we could attack this important issue given the important moment of time in which we are operating right now.
Thank you. Kelly Azar from K2.
Hi there, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. We have two questions. Our first question is, you did mention that you will be partnering with the Portland Police Bureau. We're wondering how much the Portland Police Bureau will be involved in day-to-day patrolling, and at what point or what level do you call them in to help?
Chief, could you handle that one, please?
Sure, that's not a problem at all. Well, I have many discussions and still ongoing discussions with Portland Police. The agreement we have so far is that they will only come in on critical situations. There will be no day-to-day patrol. I mean, our patrol officers would still do the routine patrol and routine calls for services. The only time they will intercede is that there's a call that's more than our scope, being unarmed, that they will come in. And to be honest with you, in the last 4 or 5 years I've been here, that's been rare, very rare that we had to call Portland Police to use them as cover or backup. But the day-to-day patrol will be Portland State University Police.
And if you don't mind, can you elaborate just a little bit on like what those types of calls would be?
Those calls where weapons are involved. If there's a call that come out where there's a weapon involved, we immediately gonna send that call to Portland Police, and we'll come in afterwards and do the follow-up or the reports if needed. But the initial response with calls for weapons will be Portland Police.
And then my second question, I think for President, I think this is for you. How much did the Jason Washington incident play into this decision? Also, what about the recent protests and unrest that we've been seeing in Portland? How big of a hand did that play in all of this?
Well, clearly we mourn the tragic loss of Jason Washington, and clearly that incident raised a lot of concern in our faculty, staff, and students about having arms on campus. Led us to really question whether we are able to do this job without the weapons on campus. And clearly the protests and the demonstrations in our own community across the country have raised our awareness of the concern about weapons and calls for reimagining safety in general and law enforcement in general. Part of the thing that stimulated the board and I to rethink this and to think it was time for a new look at these things. And one of the things we have learned more, I think, over time, an important lesson for us, is that many of our students from some communities, particularly communities of color and traditionally marginalized communities, feel the presence of weapons on campus makes them feel less safe. We originally decided to try to have weapons to make a safer campus, but to some of our students, it makes them feel less safe. And so we've heard that lesson, and that has resonated with us. And that's one reason we're thinking right now that this is a good time for us to begin rethinking our whole campus public safety approach.
Thank you. Next up is Courtney from Portland Tribune.
Hi, yes, thank you. I just wanted to see if you could sort of give us an overview of the types of calls that PSU campus police primarily respond to. Are they primarily calls dealing with student issues, or do you find yourselves responding primarily to issues that are just generally, in the downtown area because of the nature of the campus?
A little bit of both. First of all, we are the center of a metropolitan city, an urban area. So our calls are typically those that normally police departments in this kind of settings get. Again, we will not respond to those calls where weapons are involved. Again, we'll make sure that Portland Police has that information and we'll respond. We get typical calls on campus like the burglary calls, the calls where someone was assaulted, the calls where there was trespassing. So we'll still be responding to those kind of calls here.
Okay. And can you also, I don't know if it was addressed, but was this a decision that was made sort of unilaterally by you, Chief Halliburton, or did this require board action?
Maybe I could start with that and say that we, Chief Halliburton and members of the team were in discussions with us for a long time about the need to have another conversation to explore alternatives in policing. And we had those discussions about what would help to make that conversation on campus more effective, but it was clearly the CPSO and Chief Halliburton who on their own, by their own decision and by their own courage to go in a new direction that made that decision. And Chief, I'll let you fill in from there.
Like I said, one of my first public statements were that I was going to listen to our community. And that's what I did. I reached out to a ton of folk on this campus here. I wanted to hear firsthand what their feelings were. I did a lot of reflecting and, including my own experiences. And that really made a huge impact on me. And to be honest with you, I think this decision is going to be the best for our campus, the best for the healing of our campus. And that's my main goal, is to come to one with our campus. And I feel as though this issue of being armed or unarmed has created a wedge that hasn't been broken in the years that I've been here. But I want to feel as though we've come past that, knowing the talents of these officers here, that they can do the job unarmed, which I say my hat goes off to the men and women in this office. This is a giant step that they're taking. This is a giant leap of faith that they have in me. So my hat goes off to the officers here, and I know what their talents are, and I really trust that we will be doing the right thing, and the fact that we can start the healing process and become one again.
And Chief, I support you, and I applaud you and your team for taking this step to really move back from a traditional approach to public safety, and imagine giving us the room and joining with us in a discussion about a new kind of campus public safety. And I applaud that and very much appreciate that. And all the work of your team.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Kelly Azar has another question.
Hi there. Just one more question, kind of expanding on officers now being disarmed. Chief, have you heard from your officers? Are there any concerns that this maybe puts them in a position of being a sitting duck, really, with people knowing that they're not armed, being targeted for that reason, or ill prepared for something to happen?
Yes, all of those conversations has been had with my officers. Again, we're going to do everything we can not to put them in vulnerable situations. They understand the risks that they're taking. They understand what some mentalities may be out there. But again, we won't be completely out. We'll still have tasers, which are non-lethal tools, but we will not carry firearms. And they're well aware of the risks they're taking. That's why I say I commend the men and women of this office even to think of being pioneers in this way of doing police work. So yes, we've had deep discussions, and we're doing everything we can policy-wise to not to put them in vulnerable situations.
Have you lost any officers because of this decision?
I don't know if this is because of this decision, but we have lost one officer. It was a family decision he made to relocate in another state.
Thank you.
Question from KPTV, Drew Reeves.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, kind of similar. I know that when the plan was announced last fall in October, I think, the plan included hiring more officers on PSU's campus. I'm wondering if all those positions were filled and if the plan is still to keep the amount of officers that you have now?
We've been working on our staffing plan. We have increased the number of unarmed safety officers as we agreed to do last October, and we've been trying to simply maintain the level of the police officers that we've had on campus at that time. And we added our student ambassadors as well.
Courtney has a follow-up question.
Hi, yes, thank you. I just was curious, will there be some sort of fee or contract agreement with Portland Police Bureau? I mean, would they be charging PSU for the calls that they respond to, or is there any kind of contract or arrangement like that in place?
No, there will not be. Again, this is the city of Portland, and Portland, you know, they respond to our campus even before we were decided to become unarmed. But we'll have what we call MOUs, which are memos of understanding, where we have written documentation saying these are the calls that you will respond to, these are the calls that we will respond to. So there's a clear understanding of what the relationship will be. Well, no, there will be no fees associated with this partnership.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Blair, go ahead.
Hi, this is just a clarifying question. So PSU first started having an armed police force in 2015, and I think prior to that had an unarmed security team. So I was just wondering if you can elaborate on what the differences will be between like prior to 2015 and now with this new unarmed police force.
Oh, prior to 2015, there were public safety officers, and that at that time they had public safety officer exemption, meaning they could make an arrest, they could investigate crimes. But since 2019, I believe, is when Katie Hall was passed, that stripped those public safety officers of different campuses of those powers. So we became a police department in 2015 with full police powers, meaning our officers went to the DPSST, which is our state certification academy, and they have all the powers of any police officer in the state of Oregon. So that's what we're working under. With this policy change, they will still have all those powers and still have the ability to investigate, the ability to investigate crime, make crime reports, ability to make arrests. And without those abilities, we would have less protection on this campus.
Nothing more to add on that. Any additional questions? It's a quiet group. One more from Courtney.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to see if you could reiterate or remind us if there is any kind of campus public safety officer oversight committee, or what happens when there are instances where there are uses of force, be it lethal or non-lethal. Is there any kind of review board that PSU has in place?
Yes, thank you for that question. We have a University Public Safety Oversight Committee that is composed of people from different parts of the university that meet regularly. They're involved. They review any and all policy changes. They review uses of force, and they also work to find ways that we can take actions on campus to enhance public safety, partly by providing input to the campus leadership and to the CPSO about any concerns that people have or safety ideas that they have. So yes, there is an ongoing University Public Safety Oversight Committee, and Christina, we can provide you with more information about that if you'd like.
Yeah, happy to provide some more background on that, Courtney. Thank you. Any additional questions from the group? Seeing none, I would just like to thank everyone for coming today. And if you do have follow-up questions, please give me an email. It's christina.williams@pdx.edu. happy to run down additional information that anyone needs. And like I said, we are recording this, and I am happy to make the recording available. So one more call for other questions. Someone just joined via phone. We're just wrapping up as there was no additional questions. All right, well, hearing none, thanks
Thank you.
again.